Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Hayden Gallup and welcome to the channel. Alright, so today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make that cool little logo animation that you guys just saw at the beginning of this video, where you've got that like spin around with the circle and that shockwave effect coming out the sides of your logo. I think it's a very stylistic way and impactful way to reveal your logo, and I think it looks overall just very appealing. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and start up a new composition. I'm going to go up to here, new composition, and if you guys want to, go ahead and pause the video and just copy down these settings on my composition settings right here. And yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and we've got our white composition here. So the first thing you're going to want to go ahead and do is just go ahead and grab your ellipse tool. So if you don't have your ellipse tool over here, just go ahead and hold down your left click and just grab the ellipse tool, and we're going to go into our composition right here, and I'm just going to go ahead and draw a circle. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and just hold down my command or control if you're on Windows and shift at the same time and just drag, command and shift and just drag out. Awesome. So there we go. We got our circle right here. Sweet. So now the next thing we want to do is make sure that anchor point is aligned in the center of our circle, and this is kind of an eyeballing thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and go down to my shape, click this drop down menu right here, click on ellipse, and let's go ahead and go to a transform right here and just move around this anchor point until we get it to the center of our circle. Okay. And this is kind of like an eyeballing thing, by the way, guys. There's no, I guess, real perfect way to do this. Let's do it about right there. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is just go ahead and go to our align over here. I'm going to go ahead and click align horizontally and vertically right over here. Awesome. So now that's in the center of our composition. What we're going to do is that we can rescale this if you guys want to. So I'm just going to rescale this, get in command shift so that way you make sure it's proportional. And why is that anchor point not in the right area again? You guys just got to adjust this. It's kind of like an eyeballing thing here. There we go. Let's make it a little bit bigger, I think, actually. Just a tad bit. So we've got like a medium size is what I'm going for here. There we go. Awesome. So now we're finally in the center of our composition with our anchor point fully aligned in the middle of our circle. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and turn off the color here, and the anchor point's back there, but we're not going to mind it right now. So we're going to go ahead and just turn off our fill for the beginning of our circle. So the way you're going to do that is just go up to your fill right up here, click on it, and just click none and press OK. Awesome. So now I'm going to go ahead and change up the stroke width. So I'm going to go about, this is depending on preference, whatever you guys like. If you like a more thicker, you're going to go higher, thinner, lower. I'm going to go for about, let's do about, I think 7. 7 looks good. Awesome. So 7 will be there. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and add a trims path. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to click on the drop down arrow for our first shape. I'm going to go to add and trim paths. Sweet. So now what we want to do is just go ahead and drop this in to 0%. Click the keyframe stopwatch right there. And as you guys can see, we dropped the keyframe at 0 frames. We're going to go up to about, let's go to about 1 frame, 1 second, and 1 in 7 milliseconds. And just go ahead and put that into 100%. And now we've kind of got this animation where you got this line going around your circle. Looks very cool, but it looks very static right now. It doesn't look very natural at all. So I kind of wanted to give it more of an impactful, like swish type of effect, if that makes any sense. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and not highlight both these keyframes. Just go ahead and click on your end right over here. Go to your graph editor by clicking here. And we're going to adjust this line. So as you guys can see, it's a straight line. It's very boring. It doesn't really have much of an effect toward it. It's not very impactful at all. So what I want to do is I want to make it so that at the beginning it's very slow, but towards the end it gets very fast and just kind of zooms up. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to move this keyframe or frame right here all the way down. to here. So that's that way it's at 0. And we're going to adjust this graph. So I'm going to pull out this arm right here. I'm going to pull this other arm in. And let's go ahead and move this back a little bit so we get more of a natural curve. Actually, I want it to be steeper so that way it just has more of an effect there. So now we've got this. See, it just looks a lot more impactful and natural. You kind of see that momentum like shift right there, like toward the end. It's just got a very, very nice momentum. We're going to be messing with the graph editor a lot more throughout this tutorial, so this won't be the first time you'll be seeing this, but this is a very, very important tool when you're getting into motion graphics on After Effects. You're going to be using the graph editor a ton. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into making the circle and just the logo reveal itself. So now we've got this initial outline of the circle right here. Now what we're going to do next is just go ahead and duplicate this circle by pressing Command D on Mac or Control D on Windows, depending on what you're on. Now, since we've got this here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add back our fill for our initial circle, and make sure the fill is the same color for both the outline and inside. Now, what we want to do also is just make sure that we turn off the trim paths as well. So the way we're going to do that is just go ahead and delete that from here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click here, delete, and it's gone. Awesome. So now we've got that deleted. And what we want to also do is just go ahead and reveal your keyframes for where you place for your trim paths on your bottom layer by pressing U. And now we've got our keyframes revealed right here. I'm going to go to here and we're going to cut this top layer right here. So I'm just going to, on Mac, it's Command Shift D, and on Windows, it's probably Control Shift D if you want to cut layers. So now we're going to delete this other leftover part. So that way it kind of just has the circle popping in now. Awesome. So now what we also want to do to make sure that we can see the circle is fully like combined, and that way people aren't confused where it's kind of like halfway there and it just kind of pops in. We want to give it a little bit more time, a little bit more breathing room. So that way, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this about, I think this is about 3 frames. I'm going to do about 2 frames ahead of when the circle's fully put together. That way it just looks nicer. So it just looks better that way, I feel like. That way people can know that your circle's actually been fully made before this, or actually maybe even 1 frame. Let's see how 1 frame looks. Yeah, so 1 frame kind of looks a little bit too fast. Let's go back to 2 frames away. Awesome. And this is kind of eyeballing it too, guys. If you feel it's better where it's just right on top of that keyframe when it comes together, that's perfectly fine as well. Just whatever you guys want in particular there. So it kind of looks like, almost if you're thinking about it, like kind of like a watch, like a timer almost. And it's kind of like an explosion effect there. But yeah, let's go and get right into the logo reveal. So now what we want to do is just go ahead and import our logo over. I'm going to be using my wolf logo that I made in Illustrator, and let's go ahead and drop this in here. Awesome. So now that we've got this dropped into our composition, we're going to go ahead and again cut this up as well. So Command Shift D or Control Shift D if you're on Windows, and cut that other, or delete that other part of it on your timeline. I'm going to go ahead and scale this down by grabbing these corners and just holding Shift and moving down. And you guys can do whatever you see fit for how you feel the logo should be scaled. Awesome. And also centering for the alignment, it can be sometimes good depending on what your logo you're using, but just for this one in particular, I don't feel like it's aligned perfectly on the original file. So I'm going to, about right there seems appropriate for here. Maybe scale it up a little bit. Let's do, yeah, I think this circle might be a little bit too big. That's going to be an issue, but actually, no, I can always adjust that. If you need to adjust your circle, guys, just go ahead and hold down and move it down together. If you need to scale them down, just go ahead and, if you want to scale down all these layers, just click on the first one and then hold Shift and then click on all of them and you'll get all of that. You want to just go to the outermost and just scale it down to what you feel is necessary. So I'm thinking like, yeah, that looked about right. There's good. Okay. So now that I've got it scaled down, I'm going to make sure I can move this over again. Move this up. Let me go ahead and let's see how the alignment works. Yeah, so the alignment's a little bit off, I feel like. So right there, that looks good. Awesome. So now what we want to do is we want to give this again some momentum. So that way it's just not of like, kind of got a boring effect toward it now. That wolf does not seem like it's centered still. like I said again, guys, this is probably going to be a lot of trial and error throughout this tutorial for me just to make it look perfect. But yeah, so now that looks, I feel like, about centered. Yeah. Okay. This is going to bother me. I'm kind of a bit of perfectionist mode right here when it comes to centering things, because it's a big part, I feel like, in making a clean logo reveal. Awesome. So yeah, that looks good. So now we've got this right here where we got the logo kind of just popping in there, but we want to give it something more than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just essentially merge these layers together by creating a pre-comp. So you're just going to want to grab both these layers. So select both these layers by clicking on the first one, holding shift, and clicking on the second one. Then you're going to right click on both of them and go to pre-compose and just go ahead and click OK, and we'll name our composition. Let's name it logo. Awesome. So we got our logo in a different composition now. We can essentially merge those layers together. So what we want to do now is we want to give it like a rotation effect almost. So I'm going to go ahead and press R on the keyboard to bring up rotation. And let's go ahead and set it to about, I think, -20. Yeah, -20 looks good. And let's go about, I would say, where were we at? Let's go about, I think, 8 frames or 9 frames ahead. I think about 9, yeah. This should be a quick animation, but it makes it look better, I feel like, less static. So now it's kind of got this static feel toward it. It doesn't look very appealing at all. But what we want to do is we want to make it fast at the beginning and slow down towards the end with that motion. So I'm going to go back to my graph editor again by clicking on rotation, back to graph editor. And as you guys can see, we've got the straight line there. Now, like I said, we want it to be fast at the beginning and slow towards the end, so it kind of like fades off. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and grab this end right here, drop it down low, and go ahead and just adjust this curve to give it more of a dramatic feel toward it. Let's give it just a little bit more of a natural curve toward it. We don't want it to be super dramatic. Thinking like, let's see how that looks. Bang. That looks interesting. Okay. Maybe too dramatic right there. Let me just go ahead and move this keyframe back a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. So that looks a little bit better, I feel like. I feel like we're losing a bit of our logo right there. 1 second. Let me check what's going on in this composition really quick. Okay, the stroke's still the same. Let's see that. Awesome. I feel like it might be off center a little bit, maybe because I adjusted the layers a little bit too much. Let's see if I can move it and align it to the composition perfectly. Let's do it with the other one as well. Okay, let's see how this looks now. Okay, yeah, so now what I want to do is I just want to move my logo over a little bit. Yeah, this was a bit of a mess up on my part, so there we go. Awesome. So now our logo is centered again. Sweet. So now we've got this nice little logo animation right there. There's no fall off on the ends a little bit, like I was saying. Sweet. So we've got a little cool logo animation. As you guys can see, it has more of a natural kind of momentum towards it. So we got this like fast moving object coming in, kind of like it has a spinning effect, and it hits the logo and just spins over a little bit. Actually, I want to spin my logo, I think. Let's move it up a little bit more. So like right to 5 degrees, I think looks better for my logo. Nice. Cool. So it's got like a little bit of a swish effect, like I was saying, toward it. Very nice. Now what we want to do is go ahead and add our shockwaves to it. So what we're going to do in order to have our shockwaves is I'm going to go back to my logo. I'm going to go ahead and just grab this and duplicate this layer right here and go ahead and drag it above my logo. Or actually, let me keep it below my logo. And I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of that trims paths once again, that trim paths. So that way we don't have any change ups in there. And let's go ahead and make this. So I'm going to go ahead and just shorten this layer, grabbing the end, and make sure that's all the way right here. So that way it's with the logo reveal that we have. And let's make it to about 10 on the boldness. Awesome. And now what we want to do is we want to go into our ellipse, go to our stroke, and go ahead and just set a keyframe for our stroke width right there. And let's go ahead and go to about 3 seconds. Or actually, let me go ahead and set another keyframe as well. Let's go ahead and set a keyframe also on our ellipse path. So click this right here, that stopwatch right there, and let's go ahead and go down to about, let's say about 3 seconds, and let's adjust this size up to whatever you guys feel looks best. I'm thinking about, let's try about like right there. Looks like a pretty good distance for the first ring, or I guess explosion shockwave thing. And let's drop our width down to 0. Awesome. So now we've got this kind of interesting little splash animation right there, but we want it to be a little bit more, you know, exotic, fast-paced, natural, not just this static, slow-moving circle that kind of just boring it a little bit. We want it to be fast and powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and just go to my size, back to the graph editor, and let's make it at the beginning move quickly, but towards the end fall off like we did last time. Adjust this graph like we usually do with that same curve. Move that up a little bit more. So now we've got this, boom. Yeah, the graph editor is a big part of whenever you're working in any type of motion graphics, so it's a pretty good thing to get used to. So now we've got this, but we want to add a couple more rings as well, you know, distribute that a little bit. So it's pretty easy after this point. All we have to do is just Command D or Control D to duplicate. If I didn't mention that earlier, sorry about that. So Command D, Control D to duplicate, depending on if you're on Windows or Mac. And go ahead and press U to reveal those keyframes that you had before. And let's go ahead and just make this size for the second one a little bit further out. So just eyeball it for how you feel the best distance is. There we go. That looks about a good distance from each other for each of those rings. Let's go about maybe a little bit further. Just a tad bit. Awesome. So now what we also want to do is we want to adjust our initial width as well. So I'm going to add this up to about 15. So about 5 more up from the original. So bang. Nice. Got a little bit more of a bolder line there that kind of fades out over time. Nice. Okay, sweet. So we got that bold line kind of fading out there. Let's add one more now just to finish it off. So I'm going to Command D, Control D to duplicate, U to reveal those keyframes. And let's just adjust the size again. Eyeball it to where you feel like you want it. And make sure you're on the same time, guys, when you're adjusting these keyframes or the size, just because if you're on a different time when you're adjusting them, it will change up the values, or it will make it slow, or it'll mess up pretty much the animation a little bit. So just make sure you're always on whatever time you're putting those keyframes for the rings. Make sure you're on that same time the whole time. Okay, so let's go about there. I'm thinking that looks about right. So now let's make sure, let's go ahead and adjust the stroke width again for the ending one. Let's make it to 20. It's about 5 up on each of them. Nice. So you got that kind of like vocal effect right there, or that kind of like just an explosion effect. So let's see this animation in full-fledged right there. Very clean. Cool. So now what we want to do, so that's the initial kind of like shockwave right there, but now what we want to do is go ahead and add that like burst effect toward it, so that way if you're using like a video or an image overlaying this animation, it kind of has that effect toward it. And this is kind of an extra part of the tutorial. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and import over my photo. So I'm going to click Command I, and this can be whatever photo that you guys choose. I'm going to use this little background here, drop this into my timeline under all of my layers, so that way it's overlaying, as you guys can see right here. Bang. Looks very nice there. Okay, so now what we want to do is just add that kind of effect like I was saying before. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that all these layers, I'm going to go ahead and shut all these. So that way we got that. I'm going to go ahead and just right click on my time under all of these and click new, or hover over new and go to adjustment layer. and go ahead and Command Shift D so we can cut that at about 109, so that way it's lined up with these other layers. There. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add let's add a little lighting to that, so like a little flash almost. Let's go ahead and go to, sorry if you can hear my computer fan in the background, by the way, guys. Generate, or I think it was under color correction. Here we go. So brightness and contrast. And let's go ahead and set a keyframe at 0, or no, let's not set a keyframe at 0. Let's go ahead and bump this up as much as you guys want, depending on what you want. I'm going to go for let's do about 21, 22, that's fine. So 22 keyframe by hitting that stopwatch. You to reveal that keyframe on the timeline. Let's go to about, I'm thinking, let's go to about there. Click that, zero that out. So drop that value down to 0. And now we've got this. Kind of an explosion effect there. I kind of want to make that a little bit more lengthy though. Actually, let's make it a little bit more intense. I feel like it needs to be a little bit, just a tad bit more intense. So let's go to about 60. Bang. Now what we want to do also is we want to add a little bit of a, I guess you could say, blur to it as well. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to my blur and sharpen, radial blur, go and drop this up here. We're going to change this from scratch to, I think, let's do straight zoom. Let's try to see what that looks like. Actually, I'm going to change that. Let's go to center. Let's try center. What does center look like? Kind of want to have a bump effect there. What is straight again? Yeah, let's do straight zoom. All right, so straight zoom. We're going to keep it there. And what we want to do is just bring it up to whatever the highest value you guys want it to be at the beginning, because it's going to have that, like that hitting effect toward it. Let's do it about, let's have a little bit of a boom there. So let's go about 26. Keyframe by hitting that stopwatch and reveal it by pressing U on your timeline or on that layer. Go a little bit ahead to that same little, let's go about here. So a little bit shorter this time. Drop that to 0. Awesome. So now we've got this. Bang. Okay, so now what we want to do also is we're going to add that more of a vocal effect toward it as well. We're just adding a ton of different animations on here, guys. The way we're going to do that is we're going to go to distort, CC lens. It's kind of like ruined it a little bit now, but we're going to change that, don't worry. So what you want to do here is you want to make sure that when you're giving this a little boom effect toward it here, because it's going to go like kabang type of thing, you want to make sure that those rings are outside of it, that are outside, are not in there. So we're going to go to about 129 for me, drop a keyframe, reveal it on my timeline, pressing U again. Here we go. So we get our keyframe and move it over to the beginning. And now what we want to do is we want to make sure that it changes up, so that way it doesn't look like that. So we got to drop that to 0. So let's go to about there. Drop it down to 0. Not 0. My bad. 100. Actually, was it 100? No, it's 500. My bad. You got to pull that up. So pull that value up a ton, and now we've kind of got this effect right there. So it's kind of like a nice little vocal explosion effect, guys. Let's see the final animation here. Actually, oh, forgot to do this one part. Let's make sure we ease all of these to make it smoother. So you're going to highlight all your keyframes by just highlighting over them. Right click on whatever keyframe. Go to keyframe assistant, ease. And bang. Got a very nice kind of like shockwave animation there. And it can go nicely over any video that you guys want it to be on, or if you guys would just want a simple intro with your logo in there. The kind of this adjustment layer part is kind of a bit of an extra part, so you can always adjust whatever you feel like, or if you just want the initial animation without it. So let me unreveal that. If you just want this as well, that's perfectly fine as well. It's just got a very nice like shockwavy effect toward it. But I hope you guys did enjoy this tutorial. I'm sorry for not uploading for the past month. I've been very busy with school and work and things like that, and just haven't had time to upload to my YouTube channel, but I'm trying to get back on more of a video schedule, if that makes any sense. Or just going to be trying to upload a lot more tutorials and things like that relating to graphics. So hopefully you guys can stick around for that. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video once again, and if you guys did, please make sure to leave a like on the video. I really would appreciate it, and subscribe to my channel if you guys want to see this easier. It'll pop up all my videos will pop up in your subscription, so that way you guys can know whenever I post or anything like that. And leave a comment below if you guys want to know anything from After Effects or want to learn anything about Illustrator or Photoshop, and I can make tutorials on them. Or if you guys just have any questions or anything like that, I will always respond to your comments no matter what. But anyways guys, thank you guys for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.